When I started to personally develop and I had my first awakening period, things just started to come to me where I said, there's an abundance out here and there's something I could do more with. And then every single time I would find somebody right at my level or right at the level that I wanted to get to at that point, and I would say, okay, this is what I need to do to get to that level. And I didn't have no problem asking somebody. Like if you were doing better than me, I was never a hater. I would ask you a million questions until you told me, yo, stop talking to me. You see what I'm saying?
You said something about an awakening period. What's that?
Man, an awakening period is just when it usually happens where you're going through something during a low time or a depression or something like that, where you just know it gotta be something different for you. And you just know the way you've been going, it's not gonna get you where you wanna go. So I had my first awakening period, I would say around age 21, 22, around that time, and my life was just up and down. And I literally just sat down and said, your life is up and down, not because life's up and down, because you're up and down. You know what I'm saying? Like I was halfway in, halfway out with a lot of stuff, and I was getting halfway in, halfway out results in life. And I was trying to blame everything, and I just had to have a period of awakening and saying, you know what? Good or bad, whatever's happened to me in my life, I take responsibility. And that was the first and one of the most biggest things that happened for me, and then that led me to my first book, which was The Power of Now. That's the first book I ever read in my life at age 23.
How old were you?
How old am I now?
You were 23?
That's my first book I ever read in my life,
Sheesh.
age 23. And through high school, I was very intuitive, so I could read a little bit of a book, read the back, do a book report or something like that, but I never really read a whole book and really got into it on my free will. So that was my first book I ever read, and it just talked about the presence of just being, the importance of just being present. And understanding the current moment for what it is. So at one time I was like, you know what, I'm broke, I done did some dirt, I done been up and down, I have nothing, and I am perfectly okay with that.
Yo, but nah, because some people will say, yo, you got to do the affirmations. Even if you're broke, you're supposed to say, I'm not broke, or I'm rich, I'm wealthy.
No, you need to accept the fact that you're broke first.
Right.
But then there is a power in still walking and thinking in abundance. And that's something I always did as well, is I knew I had skills. I knew there was a certain power in me, a divine power in me that I had to think and move with. But you do got to accept your current position. That's not be oblivious that you broke now. You can't be running around saying, and you can't just be doing affirmations and not doing no work. You can't be praying and expecting a blessing without doing no work. So there's different ways that works. You broke, you can think in abundance. Be broke, do the work, think in abundance. Be broke, do the work, think in abundance. Make a little money, do the work, think in abundance. Make a little more money, think in abundance, do the work, think in abundance. Start making a lot of money, do the work, think in abundance. Have abundance, keep doing the work, think in abundance. Boom, that's how it works. But you gotta accept you broke first. You gotta accept that you gotta accept responsibility. Yeah. No blame game.
And you know what's interesting too, because when you first came in, like you're a 7-figure guy, you running 7-figure businesses, but I could sense that like you're frustrated with that. You're like, yo, like where's the 9 figures at? Like, it's crazy. So like your formula is actually me seeing you live it. You like your level of broke might be 7 figures because you're seeing 9-figure people. You about to do the work. You're still thinking in abundance in terms of that 100. Exactly. That's crazy.
And just from an income perspective, wherever you are, whatever you get your result from in making money, if you get a result doing things a certain way and you get to a level of income that you are satisfied with, or you feel like, oh, I'm making this amount of money, do know that to get to the next level, it's going to be the same things that you did, but it's going to have to be done a little differently. But it's going to be like the same base of disciplines and principles that you did. What happens with a lot of people is they'll get to a certain income level doing things a certain way, and they'll try to do things a different way, and try maybe do some things that didn't even get them there, and then that's where it starts to come back down. But you have to keep the same disciplines and keep the same principles and just understand how business works from then on out. My frustrations, I don't have frustrations, so to speak, with 9 figures. I just know it's possible now. Once you make, the hardest thing to do about making money is to believe that you can make a certain amount of money. Once you believe and you put the necessary steps in place, then it's all about doing more of what got you there. But once you start to get to these higher levels of income, your peace of mind and your principles and your discipline are going to have to carry you more than you just hitting the floor and running, and grinding and pushing. But starting out, you really got to grind. You really got to push. You got to be a one-man band or a one-woman band, and you have to start to take those levels of business and understand where you are, who you need to connect with, who you need to hire, who you need to be involved with, who you need to network with. Very touchy subject there. Don't network with everybody, but who you need to network with, the right people, to help you get to the next level and make sure that everything is beneficial for everybody. You ever heard that quote? Help enough people get what they want and you'll get what you want. So start thinking in that mindset.
So I think, there's a lot of people that, claim to be leaders, but nobody's following them.
Facts.
Are they a good leader?
No. Now, it doesn't mean they're not. We need to make this distinction too, Chance. There's a difference. I don't want people to confuse being a good leader with being a good person.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But to answer your question, frankly, here's this. I heard this one guy say it this way: a leader with no followers is just somebody taking a walk. That's all you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, bro. Leadership is going to be attributed to two primary things.
Okay.
Who you are and what you do.
Who you are and what you do.
Who you are and what you do.
Explain that.
So, character competence. This is what I mean. If leadership is influence, you will have influence with people if you're good at something. Got me?
Yes.
So you're good at podcasting.
Yes.
Does that make sense? And as a result of that, people get on your challenges, people are a part of your mastermind, and they give you the gift of influence. You can't take that.
Yeah.
They let you influence them.
Yeah. 100%.
They pay you
Absolutely.
to influence them because they see, this guy has a degree of mastery and skill at doing something. I think that's a huge mistake when it comes to a lot of people in leadership. And that is they don't understand the importance of really getting good at something.
Yes. That makes sense. You have to be good at something.
You got to be good at something.
And so people do call themselves a leader because they just feel that they're a leader. But the only way to show if you're a leader or a good leader, because everybody's a leader, a good leader is whether people are following your excellence at something.
100%. So what you do, got to be good at something. And then who you are as a person. So here's the thing. You being good at something is something I can see from a distance. That will make me want to come to you. Who you are as a person is going to determine whether or not I want to stay with you. See the difference there?
Well, I never looked at this like this.
100%. Because here's the thing. If you draw good people, and I think anybody that's listening to this, you've heard me say this several times, it's my mantra, bro. You don't go as far as your dream, you go as far as your team. This is why I believe most entrepreneurs are stuck because they're solopreneurs and they're not entrepreneurs. So they got a solopreneur mindset, and so they're doing the work of 10 people. When if you got a leadership or CEO mindset, you put 10 people to work. So it's two different. But to get good people, you got to be good with people because good people have options. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
say it one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah.
Because I needed to simmer in my brain.
Yeah.
One more time.
So we all want good people, right?
Yes, sir.
We all want good. So whatever they're doing for us, we want good people. If we want to get and keep good people, we've got to be good with and good to people. Because good people have options. They got options.
Because all leaders are looking for good people.
Everybody's looking for good people. And when you got help that's really, really good, you need to know somebody besides you want them. And at some point, this is important, bro. And at some point, you got to realize and recognize that, I got to give them more than a check.
Yeah.
If I want them to be loyal to me and watch this, to go the extra mile for me.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for them to show up and bring their gift to a job. It's another thing when they bring their heart.
That's a fact.
You feel me? So we did the episode with the panel, the emotional intelligence and entrepreneurship. So that was my first time I had heard of Joe. Because you and Donnie talk about Joe all the time, right? So Joe famous.
Flaming him sometimes.
Joe famous, right?
I love you, Joe.
Yeah, y'all be flaming. I'm like, Joe's like in an abusive environment. Yo. But I saw Joe working, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to one of my friends that I brought with me, one of my friends is a marriage coach, his name is Don Johnson. I say, buddy, bring his heart to work.
Yeah.
It's different when they heart in it. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I think all of us in life and in business, we want people to bring their heart to work.
Yeah.
So, man, how good you are at something, that gets people to you. But how good you are with people and to people, that determines, man, if they stay with you.
I love to tell the community about detoxing. When you take the course, before we get into actual food, the first week of the course is about understanding why you're connected to certain foods.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people find when they're detoxing, a lot of those emotions come up where they feel irritable, they feel agitated.
That was it.
Right. So we can no longer use the foods like carbs to suppress those emotions. So now they're coming up. You're not just detoxing the body, you're detoxing the mind and the spirit as well.
Carbs suppress emotion? Carbs have an effect on your emotions?
Right. So we talk all about different types of food. So let's talk about cravings for a moment. You have sweet cravings. Yeah. What does that mean? My thing is the body is always talking to you. So if you're a person that's constantly craving sweets, that's tied to emotional trauma. Emotional trauma around depression, emotional trauma around abandonment wounds, attachment wounds, self-nurturing wounds.
From sweet cravings?
Correct. So what does that do when you eat sweets? It causes a dopamine response in the brain. So if you're feeling down, the first thing you do is eat sweets, right? You crave that and it gives you that pick me up, right? So usually when a person is craving these things over time, they have learned to use these cravings to satisfy an emotional need.
Wow.
And we learn these things through childhood, through television. But once you taste it, it's a whole nother thing, because now you have that dopamine response and you're like, oh, I love it. So now when you have a rough day or a tough day, first thing you do is going to the vending machine and getting some XYZ, whatever it may be. Crunchy cravings, that's a sign of a person that has dealt with a lot of stress. So chewing on something crunchy releases tension in the muscles. So now you have a relief. Correct. So we help people to understand why they're eating it, not just saying, oh, you should not be eating this. I know people look at us on Instagram and it's like, this, and this is why you shouldn't eat this. But once you actually become a student, you're like, okay, I understand why I'm eating it. I said that I was in a psychiatric ward. Throughout my childhood, I experienced a lot of things. And throughout childhood, I used to eat bread every single day, ball it up and eat it. I used to get in trouble for doing that.
Me too.
That was a sign of depression.
What?
That was a sign of depression. And because
I thought I just loved bread. Yeah, I would you ball it up and it just makes it like a dough. It's like pizza bread kind of. You're like, I'm eating
but
pizza.
Guess what? That feeling of crunching down on it, eating it, relieves the stress in the body. So it's a soothing mechanism. We have found unhealthy ways of soothing ourselves emotionally. And that's what's leading to this cycle of generational diseases, as we like to say.
Got it. Why do I love pasta so much?
Same thing. So if it's creamy pasta, it's issues around nurturing, right? So like Alfredo's, maybe you wasn't breastfed as a child, or maybe you dealt with some abandoned wounds from mom or dad, or somebody that was a caregiver in your life.
You know what's crazy?
What's crazy?
Anything I eat, gotta have sauce on it. I love sauce. Yo, what's up with all the laugh? I feel judged. Joe is judging me like crazy right now. And I do have, I don't know if it's emotional or abandonment it's not abandonment issues, but I am an emotional suppressor. I suppress my emotions to the point where I don't think I have them. As I get older, I'm thinking maybe they're there somewhere. I just don't acknowledge them as much.
There's a lot of students
but you're thinking we could tie that to.
Of course, I can come to your house. I don't even have to talk to you. If I came to your house right now and I said, open your refrigerator, open your cabinets, and I look at the type of food that you have, I can analyze what you probably went through as a child.
Wow.
Correct. Right. And that's one way that, like we say in the conscious community, emotional intelligence. And that's not just about being conscious. I think every parent should know that, because most of our children cannot articulate what they're feeling correctly. So back to the story of me eating bread every day, I was depressed because my mom and dad was going through a divorce that they didn't explain to me. I witnessed a lot of domestic violence, right, in my childhood. And I couldn't articulate that bothered me. And as I became an adult, I still dealt with those things. I suppressed those things, had more experiences and compounded on each other. And then I ended up in the psychiatric ward in 2013. 13. So if my mom would have known that, hey, this craving could be tied to an emotional instability, we could have got help then. Or they could have talked to me, or maybe I would have got counseling. That's what I do with my children. When I notice they have a week where they're eating a lot of potato chips or asking for potato chips, I'm like, okay, what are you stressed out about? And I try my best to bring it down to their level to get them to tell me what's going on, extract that information from them. My youngest daughter, well, not now I have another youngest daughter, but my second oldest, she had
How old is she?
She's 5.
Okay.
When she was 4, she had a period where she would just want waffles all day, every day. And I'm like, what is going on? So I started doing some therapeutic work with her, and I started talking to her, and to find out, she said, you know what? I am the youngest at the time daughter, and I feel like I'm not being heard. She always had to shout what she needed. She always felt like, hey, I got to fight for my spot in the family. And I found that out just by noticing she loved to eat pancakes and waffles for like a week straight. She would just eat that. And I started a conversation with her, and it came to find out that was what she was dealing with. So now I can properly help her manage those emotions and not continue to use the food to suppress them.
God, hold on. You let your kids eat waffles and chips and stuff?
Well, you know, I try not to be the food police,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, birthday parties and things like that, they do have opportunity to eat it as long as it's vegan.
Oh, God, as long as it's vegan. Gotcha.
correct.
How old are your kids?
I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, 5, 3, and 9 months.
Oh, gotcha. Hey, that 10-year-old, when they go to school now, hey.
And that's one of the things that we've done. We've taken them out of the school system.
Oh, really? I was about to say, because they friend definitely got some cookies or something for them.
That happens, and they're inching to get in there. So we're working out ways to like balance that, because I don't want them to ever feel like, you know, they were sheltered from certain things or held back from certain things. So that's not good either.
Yeah.
So I try to do my best to allow them to explore, but make sure that they understand who they are. Right, my children will be the one. We stopped getting invited to like, you know, outings with our family, because when we would go to non-vegan restaurants, my children would be like, you know, this leads to high blood pressure. You know, you shouldn't be eating that, grandma. So they stopped inviting us. They don't even invite us anymore. I'm like, okay, I saw y'all went here. Why y'all didn't invite us? Because we don't got time for your children to be telling us. So we do our best to indoctrinate our children with this mindset.
Man, I think that might have went over some people's heads. You said I was just being myself.
I was just being myself.
Which being myself, I think, is one of the hardest things. I was telling somebody in the lobby, being yourself is one of the hardest things to do when you got so much stuff to look at.
It's only hard when you don't know who you are. It's only hard if you don't know who you are. You have to find who you are. And in I'm still learning that. Every year I evolve. I'm in therapy right now. My therapist was like, write down 20 things that make you happy. She was like, yep, call me tomorrow. So, you know, some of those deep questions, it's like, who am I? Does this, you know, and I'm going to go back to EJ, you know, on my $1 million journey, I sold my car, which was almost 2 years ago. I still don't have a car. And I'm a multimillionaire. I still don't have a car. I almost bought a $300,000 G-Wagon because of the stuff I saw on the internet. And I sat with myself. I said, do I really even want this G-Wagon? I'm never in town. Soon as I drive off the lot, it depreciates. It's going to be in my garage. I don't own any land because I stay in an apartment.
Come on, babe.
Why am I buying a G-Wagon? Because I'm conditioned to think that's what you do when you get money, right? I sold my Toyota. Now I need a luxury car. This is what I'm seeing as I'm scrolling. I ain't had a car for 2 years. I am comfortable. I don't cook. So all I'm doing is Uber Eatsing. I ain't never at the grocery store. I'm never in town. One of those years was a pandemic. I wasn't doing nothing. Why would I go buy a $300,000 car for it to sit in my garage? I need to own some land. I need to invest. That's what works for me. But that's because I know myself. I know myself, and I didn't allow outside sources and social media to make me feel pressured to go do that. I Uber everywhere. EJ picked me up this morning. You should like, you want to ride? I was like, I could drive my sister's car. She got a little Ford in the back. But you know, it goes with my lifestyle. I don't like to drive anyway. I love getting in an Uber, sitting in the back, answering emails, sleeping, being on my phone, working in the back seat. Convenience. That works for me though. I didn't allow outside sources to make me feel like I had to go buy a car. I don't even have a car.
What is first off, do you do regular Uber or Uber Black?
It depends on where I'm going.
Okay, because me and her, she be like, we going somewhere. I'm like, yeah, I'll get a regular Uber.
It depends on where I'm going because I'm hopping to dinged up Uber real quick. Like, thank you, they got me Simone. I'm like, yeah, come on. It's me. It's me, Black Queen.
She's trying, though. She's
It's
trying.
me, Black Queen.
So
First of all, we've been up here like 15 minutes. I only did 3.
that's good. Let's
Thank
clap
you.
it up for B. Simone. Yeah.
I'm working on me.
I do want to know the journey of, have you always been yourself, or was it a process? Like some people are natural, like they are just them, but some people are struggling.
Oh, I don't know why that question's gonna make me emotional. I've always been myself. 2020, soon as I thought I found myself and I was walking in my truth, I changed. I changed and I tried to hold on to the girl I used to be, and that's not even who I am anymore. So that was a scary thing for me. When you change and you grow and you evolve and you shift and you're maturing and people around you aren't, or you're not the same person. First of all, the person you used to be is not who God intended you to be. It was just a part of you to get you to where you're going. And I was scared to change. I'm like, I don't like standing on the tables at the clubs no more. I don't like going out all the time. I like being at home. Big crowds. I used to want to be the center of attention. Now big crowds kind of give me anxiety. I changed as soon as I was walking in my truth. And that scared me. But once I started to accept, it's okay. You're not 21, you're 31. Okay, you're going to evolve, you're going to grow. And that old B. Simone or Braylon, who you used to be, is not who God intended you to be. That is a part of you to get you to this point and continue to evolve. So yes, I've always been myself, but I feel like in different chapters and journeys and parts of life, you're going to change and find that and walk in that. Don't try to hold on to who you used to be.
And what do you think forced that change? Was it people? Was it circumstances?
My career took off. The more popular I got, the more introverted I got.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Now I'm. Hey, you a fan or a hater? Bitch, it's like, I'm always on edge. It turned me introverted a little bit, and I'm kind of getting back to the balance of it. But the bigger I got, the quieter I got. I'm like, well, that's not what got me big. My personality. This is what made me who I. This is what got me to this point. I had to keep this girl up. I have to be the life of the party. I have to be lit. The bigger I got, I stopped drinking so much. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to rest. I'm trying to be healthy. The bigger I got, I didn't want to be out late. So now I'm not networking with those same people because they in the club every night. Yeah. The bigger, I changed the bigger I got, and it scared me because I felt like I had to do those same things because that's what got me to this point. But I'm just on a different chapter. For sure. I'm on a different path. I'm evolving, and that's okay too. Yeah. So I challenge you guys to embrace the new you. Don't be scared of it.
Someone asked me, how did what you created come about so fast? How did you get these relationships? How do you get these businesses? And they say so fast, because where I'm at right now, I started about 4 years ago. And I'm like, well, if you go to school for about 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, you can get a doctorate degree, right? You can become a doctor. You can be a very high-ranking individual if you study something for 4, 5, 6 years. Master's degree, doctorate degree already. And people were like, oh my goodness, you got a master's degree, you a doctor. Imagine if you became a doctor on your own, but it was just on your own shit. What if you just studied for 4 or 5 years and worked on yourself? You made yourself a doctor of yourself. Just a doctor of whatever you were trying to be involved in. See, school sets a precedent of what can happen if you study for 4 or 5 years or 6 years. You get a degree, you become an expert, you become a doctor, you become a master. Just take that same scenario, figure out what you want to do and who you want to become, and study for 4 or 5 years.
So you talking about, you take 15 credit hours of social media.
Yeah.
Like in your living room.
You take 15 credit hours on business development. Take 15 credit hours on social media marketing, on digital advertising. Go find that training. I'm going to tell you, all this money you may spend in college, it's going to be cheaper for you to invest that in yourself. You might have no cap on what you can build. I got no cap on what I can build.
How much is YouTube University?
Exactly. I've learned endless amounts of things on YouTube, Shark Tank, Amazon Prime. You know how fast they deliver books? You get the book the next day, bro.
Right.
And you get it for a discount. Amazon Prime, come on now. So I done put myself through my own university. And people ask me, well, how's that? It ain't gotta, it could take 10 years. It don't got to. It doesn't have to. You know what I'm saying? They give you the structure in school. They tell you, you do this, and this. You become this. And usually what people do is they go to school, they do this, and this. And if they want, they become this. So I took that same scenario. I said, hey, if I want to become, let's say I want to become a multimillionaire in any industry, first let me figure out the industry first. And if I do this, and this over time, chances are I could become a millionaire. The only problem is there's no guarantee. See, you kind of got a guarantee in school, like if you do this, we're going to give you the stuff. There's no guarantee, and a lot of people get scared because it doesn't know. I could do all of this work.
And not get your doctorate.
Right, I could still be sitting here like, yo, what's up?
Right.
Do I got to do this for 4 or 5 more years? I'm out of this.
Right.
You know, but you got to be willing to put yourself on the line and have that possibility for $1 million and that guarantee.
But how do you do that though, man? I mean, you have no idea what's at the end of this road. Like you go down this journey 4 years, 5 years. And like you said, in school, they'll tell you if you do these requirements, these checks in the box, you'll have your degree. Now you got to figure out what to do with it, but you'll have your degree.
Right.
How do you keep yourself mentally like sane when there's absolutely no finish line that you can see?
You got to celebrate your small victories, and you got to celebrate and recognize when you are making progress. And what I mean by that is you begin with the end in mind, but you appreciate each step along the way. And you dive into the present moment of what you're doing right now, and if you're getting a result that is positive, you know you're on the right path. There has to be some, if you're doing, let's say you're doing the work, you're not going to get the big cash out, but if you're getting something small, if you're seeing something change, even within yourself, within your income, if you're seeing these small daily improvements equal long-term results. So with me, I started to see progressive, and I worked so hard. Like I would work. Anything not in alignment with what I had to do, I was working. And I knew there's a law that I live by laws, man. These laws, you can't beat them. You reap what you sow. And I know I was sowing. Right. But the thing about it is, you know, what happens a lot is good things rarely come on your time. Good things come, you know, sometimes at unexpected times. You get a direct result for something bad. Let's say you shoot somebody, the police see you shoot them, you going to jail. You do something good, like you plant a garden, that garden might take 3 months to grow that fresh food. You might write a book. That book might take 3 years to become New York Times #1 seller. It never happens on your time. To go to the Super Bowl, the team has to practice day in, day out, beat everybody, then they become Super Bowl champions. So you have to have that, you have to live by laws. Laws don't lie, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta be real with yourself and understand, am I really doing everything I can do? Because the game's not for everybody, and if you really don't want it and you want somebody to give you something, that's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want this, you have to trust and believe and have that shift, like that true paradigm shift that it is possible. And the reason why I always knew it was possible to do whatever I wanted out here, because we are dealing with human beings out here. There is no astronomical force of people that have done things before me. They bleed, they sweat, and they breathe. If I bleed, sweat, and breathe, there's no way I'm not gonna go out here and see what I can get.
But in the Steve Jobs movie, there's one part I remember, and it changed my life forever. So at the end of the movie, I'm talking about like this, like the last scene, okay? And I forgot which, because I think Steve Jobs had a couple movies or whatever, but it was the last scene. He goes and he sees a computer with the 2 speakers on the side. Remember, it used to be a computer, string, connect types of speakers. And he said, why don't we put the speakers in the screen? So you don't have to have the speakers outside of the screen. Why don't you just put them in the box? That changed my life. He just saw something. He just saw, now it will be, nobody, now it's just commonplace, but he saw it back then.
Yeah. He was thinking, bro. That's what leaders do.
Dang. For the people what about the people that don't think like that?
Yo,
are they not leaders?
They are. But like I said, we all have, like when it comes to like influence, I say everybody has influence, but everybody don't have the same degree of influence. You don't have the same measure of influence, right? So I lead a lot of people. That's just my measure, my quote unquote measure of rule. But someone else may not have as much responsibility as I have on the leadership side, but it still doesn't mean that they aren't a leader. Like, my responsibility is to check this, and this is difficult, but my responsibility is this, bro. It's to love the calling I have, not the one I wish I had.
That's tough though, Darius.
It is.
Because you wish you had something, but you don't have it. In one school of thought is, let me work on that to be better, to have that thing.
Yeah.
It kind of negating. So for instance, Joe easily could say, okay, he's like organizer, and he'll come and like set all this stuff up and, all that. It takes me a lot longer to do that stuff than he does. But he could say, well, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just do what Dave does and, get influencers and, find, network and be in that chair. What's stopping? That's just a conflict, bro.
Yeah, but
seems tough to get over.
But here's the thing. Let's flip it, right? And let's just say you're looking at what Joe does and you're like, man, I wish I could do that. Let's say hypothetically, that's the way that you're feeling.
That's actually how I feel right now.
You do? I don't blame you.
Honestly.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
So when my assistant got sick, and I'm like, I've learned so much because I didn't have like the crutch to sit on.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I can get in and figure this stuff out and like be in the weeds of it. I'm learning it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When you do the things that Joe's gifted to do, you can't fully give yourself to the things that you gifted to do.
That's true.
You feel me? And so when I'm talking about like loving your lane, loving the lane you have, not the lane you wish you had, I'm trying to get people to see that your lane is enough. The reason I want what you got, or the reason you want what someone else has, is because innately, I don't believe that I got enough. You feel me?
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm saying with Joe running his lane, so his lane may expand, but with Joe running his lane, Joe can run into everything that he's supposed to run into. He can get everything he's supposed to have. You just got to believe that you are and your lane is enough.
What caused the change? First, give me was there something going on, or you just woke up one day and, or was it a breakup? When women break up, they cut their hair and go vegan. You know what I mean? And it's just, y'all ain't ever see that?
I used to cut my hair when I used to be going through.
My brother, he's seen it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for me, actually, I started to ask questions first. Right, what started that was going through the psychiatric ward experience. Thankfully, I was.
And why were you in there?
Because I was going to commit suicide.
Why?
So, as I was saying earlier, things compounding on top of each other. So I have trauma back from childhood, experiencing domestic violence, my parents divorcing, not explaining anything to me, going to school, getting picked on, then becoming a bully. I mean, there were so many things, as I said, over time, compounding on itself, going through breakups in a relationship, not ever getting counseling. All of these things just came to a head when I was maybe about 23 years old. And I just couldn't take it. I wrote a suicide note. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I got in my car and I said, I'm gonna drive my car for $285. And I was just crying. And I got off on the exit. I can't even tell you what the exit was. I got off. There was a Kroger there. I sat in the Kroger parking lot and I cried. And I said, you know what? Something just said, drive to the hospital. I didn't know what was going to happen. I drove to the hospital, told them how I was feeling. Baker acted me, and I was sent to Peachford Psychiatric Ward here in Atlanta.
Give me all the things that were going on specifically that drove you to that point.
Feeling like I was alone was the biggest thing.
You just broke up with somebody at that point?
Well, me and my husband, we've been together for 15 years. And we had, we met in 12th grade. So we've gone through so much. I've hurt him, he's hurt me, never really understanding how to work through that. Not having my dad in my life as a child, I was only able to see him 6 days a month, court order. As I say, experiencing domestic violence. I constantly try to suppress that through using drugs. I've used marijuana, of course. I use alcohol to suppress it. And eventually the suppressions wasn't working anymore.
But was it one particular day where it all kind of hit you and it drove you to that point? Or did the thoughts just kind of creep in slowly?
So the whole reason why I moved to Atlanta was a cry out, but nobody realized it. I was like, I'm going to move to Atlanta and people are going to realize that they miss me. Well, moving to Atlanta further isolated me. I had no one. I was home by myself all the time. And then that allowed me to just sit and replay all the things that happened to me throughout life. And then, yes, one day I was like, I'm done. I'm tired of this. And it was too much. And I understand depression is a heavy thing because it feels like there's a looming dark cloud over you and nothing can lift it. It feels so heavy. And that day, the load was just too heavy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a letter. I wrote a letter. I left it on my dresser and I got in my car. And thankfully, I understand now as a part of my mission to help other people that's going through that. But that day, I really thought that was going to be my last day. I really did.
So you drive to a hospital, and once you start talking about suicide, they take you.
Yeah, they took me in.
Was that experience necessary for you in terms of you being there? Do you remember some points of being there that
I just remember
helped you?
feeling so numb. I was very numb. Even
They
when
gave
they
you
told
drugs?
me, any regrets?
Did they give you drugs?
They didn't because I was pregnant at the time. I was pregnant at the time and I did not have to take any drugs. They gave me like prenatal vitamins. And they gave
Dang,
me
you was
some
gonna
things.
kill yourself and you was pregnant.
Yeah, I was. And going through that stressful experience, I ended up having a miscarriage because of all the cortisol levels. They told me, they didn't want to make me feel bad. Like, no, that had nothing to do with it. But knowing what I know now definitely had everything to do with it. But that's what really started the vegan journey because going through that experience and being in there, thankfully, I didn't have to get put on drugs. But going through that experience, I saw so many women that were on drugs and it didn't look pretty. So I said, in my mind, I was like, what is this? And that started me asking questions. So I spent 4 days there and I came home. I felt a little bit rehabilitated, but overall, I started to ask questions and kept asking more questions,
What type of questions?
Why do you look like a zombie when you're on pharmaceuticals? That was one of the questions. Why isn't there adequate health care for women that are going through things? Why do I feel just like a number in this system, right? In that facility, granted, they did what they could, but I didn't feel like, my issues really mattered. I felt like a number, just like another patient. So I started to ask questions about that. I started to ask, what would happen if I was on pharmaceutical drugs? Would that change how I viewed the world? Would that change how I communicated? Because I saw those things happen to women in there. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. So at that point I said, okay, I know, I guess I kind of got scared straight because at that moment I knew that I didn't want to commit suicide anymore, but I still dealt with depression. I'm like, well, why didn't going there eradicate it? Yeah. What is it? And that's what led into veganism. And I didn't decide to go vegan. My husband's the one who said, we need to go vegan.
I read a quote too. They said people spend their whole lives wanting to be known, and then they become known and then wear dark shades to avoid being seen.
It's like, excuse me, and be Simone, I'm just a mess and my news is real. Move. Please.
Let me ask you, so last year you had that issue where I think you said something about the type of man that you want, right?
Yep.
Do you think that caused you to not want to be so out there because you're a target now?
I think it was numerous things. So I had my $1 million journey. If anybody followed it, it's still on YouTube. Man, that was insane. And I saw an interview, I was looking at your page today, but somebody said a millionaire means you have it attainable, not we've made $1 million, So that was my goal at 30. I want to be a millionaire. I want to see it in my account. I've come across the millions, of course, but to see it tangible, those zeros, that was my goal at 30. So I had 300,000 to go. I did all these, I did back to go doing hair and this and that. We reached the goal. Cool. It took me 30 years. So I reached this goal at 30 years to see the million in my account. It took me 30 days to be a multi-millionaire. 30 days after that, I made $1 million in 1 month. So which is great. But then I had the most depressed year of my life. Soon as I became a millionaire, it was the darkest year of my life. From media to losing people out of my circle to my team falling apart. That's why if the money is the goal, you're going to get the money.
Come on.
If the money is the goal, you're going to get it. Whatever you put your mind to, you are going to get. If the $1 million house is the goal, you're going to get it. But when you get there, if your mind ain't right, if your foundation ain't strong, if your work, who is your source? If that's not right, the finances and the materialistic goals don't matter. And I thank God for my mind. Because during that depression, I was sane. I was good. And I knew I was going to come out of it. But to answer your question, going back to that, the book, the 9 to 5 comments, the lies on it's mind blowing. Anybody can put out something and the world's going to believe it. It don't matter what it is, right? So the 9 to 5 comment, and I'll go back to that every day in my stand-up show. Clap if you still work a 9 to 5. Clap, 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 clap. I'm gonna tell y'all exactly my comment for those that don't know. I said I would never date a man with the 9 to 5 at this stage of my life. I don't want to date a guy at Foot Locker. I made a joke, right? And at my stand-up show, I end my show with this now. I'm on tour with Martin Lawrence, arena of 30,000 people. I end my show with this. And this is how God uses purpose. God will embarrass you to use you. Watch.
Come on.
Watch.
Baby.
This is purpose. Listen. He will embarrass. I was so embarrassed. Oh, they're not understanding me. They're not this. They're not that. I get up on that stage. I say, in the arena, clap if you heard my 9 to 5 comment. Yeah, we heard it. Clap if you have a 9 to 5 in here. And they clap it. I said, y'all are some of the hardest working citizens in the nation. You get up, you go to work, you take the kids to school, you clocking in to a job you probably don't give a damn about. You got other hopes and dreams and all. You work so hard. I had a 9 to 5 listing 3 years ago. And then I say, clap if you would love to be there the next 50 years. The arena, I'm talking 30, gets quiet. It goes from almost 100% of people to about 20%. I said, okay, if you would love to be there the next 50 years, I ain't talking to you. God bless you. Let me talk to these people that are going into this job every single day. You depressed, you got anxiety, you taking it out on yourself, your kids, your mom, your dad, because you don't want to be there. God has planted a seed in your heart. He has given you purpose. And until you find that, you lost. Find that. You want to be a doctor. You want to be a lawyer. You want to open up your own daycare center. You want to have your own boutique, but you're too scared to do it and step out on faith. So no, I'm not going to date a man who sees me living my dream every day and he's at a desk and he can't walk in his purpose. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? If you are at your 9 to 5 and you feel like that's your purpose and you are walking in that, that is beautiful. My comment wasn't for you. My comment is for that man that is sitting there. I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart. I'd rather date a man that has a plan, ambition, and he's selling clothes out of his trunk and they fly as hell. I'll help you with that business because you have a vision. You have purpose. Care about something. If your thing is microphones, tell me why microphones are cool. Talk to me. Be passionate about something. We so lost in this cycle of working to live, we done lost passion and purpose. So no, I'm not going to date a man that works at Foot Locker. Thank you. Next question.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, my lowest point, man, like I said in some of the things I've talked about, man, I've almost went crazy. You know, I've been at a very low point. I haven't had anything given to me. Everything I've gotten has been through me just trusting and believing. Been down and out, been broke, no money, okay with living in my car, you know, that type of having a can of Pringles and the AC and just enough gas to figure it out, renting a room, air mattress, sleeping on the air mattress. I had a hole in it. And when I wake up, I would be on the floor because I didn't have enough money to get a bed. Not having money to get groceries.
Air mattress with a hole in it.
Man, I slept with an air mattress with a hole in it. I used to blow it up every night. And when I woke up in the morning, I would be on the floor.
That's crazy.
But I did not have the money to get a new air mattress. And
That's
I was,
crazy.
you know. And
Like, you probably got to try to fall asleep real fast.
Yeah, you know that air coming out around 2 a.m. You better be sleeping around 2 a.m. That air gonna be coming out. You know what I'm saying? You better be sleeping around 2 a.m. Around 4 or 5, you swimming in the middle, and then you sleep. But I had a work ethic, man, and I kept my mind filled because the unfed mind would devour itself. You know what I'm saying? So I kept it filled with just people that look like me. And that's big. And I'm not talking about race, but find somebody that looks like you, maybe a little older than you, that has made that kept me grounded, looking at people that look like me, that talk like me, or maybe had some similar experiences to me. I kept them always around, and whether it was YouTube, a book, or something like that, I was inspired by people that resonated with me. And just a quick hint.
That's crazy.
How I helped a lot of my clients, Like I was very renowned when I was used to personal train. I wouldn't just tell a client what I could do. I would show a client that looked like them, and I said, this person did it. And that's why I got so many great results with my clients, is I would show them themselves. If you could show somebody themselves making it, that holds a whole nother fuel to the fire. So when I coach different people, I say, hey, this person looks kind of like you, doing the same thing as you. They did it. Do you think you can do it? Because that helped me so much. I had to find people like, yo, did he do it? Because he's similar to me.
That's heavy. Find somebody that look like you. So like not even like the color. If you played sports forever and you don't have a skill and you got hurt, you need to find somebody who went through that and still built a business.
Right.
I might not be the person to help.
Right.
You might, you know what I'm saying, like speaking that particular language.
Even down, and I'm not even down to the color. Man, if you're a young black man or if you're a young white man, find a older successful white man that has a similar story to you. If you're a young black man, find an older black man that has a similar story to you. I'm pretty sure that somebody watching this has a similar story to me. I've been told every single day, yo, bro, the reason why I'm keeping going is because of your story. Somebody saw me and said he looked like me, he talked like me, he from up north like me, he been in trouble like me, and now he's just giving me the inspiration to keep on going.
That's cool.
So pick your gurus, pick your inspiration wisely. Don't be inspired by something that you can't resonate with on a core level, because this game, this life thing, it starts with the core. So if you can feel something or you can feel somebody in your core, watch that person. And another thing about inspiration, once you're done being inspired by a person, don't watch them anymore.
Say it again. Bring that back.
Once you're finished being inspired by a person, because it's going to happen, don't watch them anymore.
Why?
Because it's time for you to now go ahead and write the story that you need to write. You're done reading the book. Now it's time for you to continue to put all your focus into writing your story, because one day, that person you were inspired by, you might be collabing with them.
But what about the person who's just not comfortable in their gift?
So
What
when
advice would you give?
When you say not comfortable, what do you mean?
So let's say somebody is, their skill set as a number 2, unmatched, right? They're just, when they're in their lane, when they're playing point guard, they're passing the ball, they're orchestrating, but I want to score. I don't want to be passing the ball. I want to score. That's what I want to do. I want to go down the lane and dunk. I want to shoot the 3. I don't want to be the orchestrator, even though that's the best. I know that's my gift. That's something that I can do easily. It doesn't take as much energy for me to do it as it does, somebody else to do what I do. But I'm not comfortable in that. I want something else.
Yeah. I feel like that goes back to this. I know it's my 3rd time mentioning this, bro, but I feel like it goes back to the panel because it takes a degree, bro, of emotional intelligence. Like, I just read a statistic that said it's about that EQ, emotional intelligence, contributes to like 58% of a person's success.
Ooh.
You got me? Like so it is we both know a lot of smart people that's not successful.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? So we just talked about me and like my schooling and all blah, 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 blah. But there were a lot of people that taught me stuff. They had a lot of knowledge, but it didn't translate into necessarily success in their own life.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to know it. It's another thing to be comfortable enough and confident enough to put into practice what you know. And like part of emotional intelligence, bro, that first quadrant is self-awareness. And I think in that self-awareness, there's got to be some self-acceptance. Now, for me, this
hold on. With self-awareness,
self-acceptance.
It takes a level of self-acceptance.
Yeah, so it's one thing for me to know who I am. It's another thing for me to accept that. Now, I don't know, so I want to be real transparent here, right? I don't know how to help somebody with that who doesn't believe they were created. You got me? So I'm not saying that if a person has to believe that, but I'm saying I don't know how to help people who don't believe that they were created, because I believe that I'm a creation. of a creator who is the ultimate expression of intelligence, that means that my creation is not a mistake, that it's intentional. And part of my job is to maximize who I am, not wish I was somebody else.
That's a fact. And I think even you get to a point where maybe you find yourself in this position that you wanted to get to, and it's probably never going to be fulfilling anyway. You think that's what you want.
We know that. We talk about that, bro. There never feels like there. Whenever you get to one level, you graduate to one level, but when you get to a new level, you just graduate to the bottom of that new level.
Yeah.
So you go from junior high, then you go to high school. It's like, now you're at the bottom of the barrel. You go from a senior high school, you're at the top of the food chain. You go to freshman in college. You graduate to freshman college, you're at the bottom. It's the same thing.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? Like we're masterminds people. I had a such and such day. And they're like, yeah, I just had $1 million day.
Right.
You know right. You're like, oh, okay.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So you kind of told me about your first relationship with leadership. But take me to a little older, high school, college, Darius. What was that relationship with leadership like? If you can remember that back that far.
Yeah, that was probably more along the lines of in sports. So I played basketball all the way through college. And so that would probably be the one place where I'd say, I intentionally exercise leadership. Not held like leadership positions, class president and all that, but I didn't really do a lot.
Right.
I didn't do a lot. But like on the court, when we're playing ball, it's almost like I mentioned earlier. It's one thing for somebody to bring their skill to the court. It's another thing for them to bring their heart.
Yeah.
When their skill's there, they're going to dribble, they're going to shoot or whatever. When their heart is there, they're going to play defense a little harder. Yeah. They're going to jump at that ball a little quicker. Yeah. They're going to give you effort that they wouldn't give you if they were just out there just doing whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I think about high school and when I think about college, I think about, me being intentional to say, all right, how can I help this person be the best version of themselves that they can be so that we can be the best team that we can be?
You're thinking about that in high school.
I probably wasn't thinking about it using that language, but as I reflect back on what I was doing, I wanted to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're like, if you're a big man, I need you to I like hit it hard. And you're like, okay.
We had big man trying to shoot threes, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or we had big men who would get mad because we were shooting threes all the time and they never got the ball. Yeah. So like I would know that. It's the intuition, bro. It's the unteachable thing. I just feel like, okay, let's get him the ball. Give him the ball right now. Give him a couple of shots and he's gonna he's gonna be good. Or I know this guy right here, if he hit one, he think he hot. So he gonna keep shooting. Or this dude right here, if he missed one, he's about to put his head down and not shoot anymore. So it's like you have to know how to talk to who. And just like it's that's the case on the court. It's also the case in business.
Yeah.
Like you can't approach everybody on the team the same way.
Yeah.
You gotta know some people gonna need a little help recovering from mistakes.
Yeah.
They're gonna take their mistakes too seriously. Then you got other people, they're not gonna take their mistakes serious enough.
Yeah.
So it's that IQ that's super important that's gonna help you get the most out of them individually so that y'all can do the most collectively.
Mm-hmm. And because it seems like from a kid, you've always just had that leadership thing inside of you. What I can imagine is,
I think I'm gonna say it again.
Right.
Everybody does. Because if
you've got a different measure, though.
I think when we start saying stuff like that, it lets other people off the hook. Like if you say I'm special, it's letting you off the hook.
Okay. It seems like you had the desire to lead other people since you were a child. Or you had no issue with, some people shy away from that. I don't
understand.
I did a corporate training, and we do this this assessment, and I see that his motivator, he's low on leadership in terms of not his ability to lead, but his desire to lead. And sure enough, I talked to the guy and he says, I just don't feel like I should be responsible for grown people doing what they're supposed to do. Meaning he just doesn't have a desire to lead. They gave him a promotion, but because he wanted more money, he'll take the promotion, but he doesn't want to lead the people. He's just not interested in that. So it seems like you may have had a desire. And I think there are some people that just maybe they don't have that desire to lead other people, right?
Yeah. And I would say this, I don't know if I had a desire to lead. Now that you put it that way, I had a desire to win.
But you're comfortable leading.
And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win.
Yes.
And so that would be like, you know, with the guy that you just mentioned, it's like, I feel like it's like, okay, that's fine. But you got to ask yourself this, okay, is my perspective like, is that ideal or is it real? So ideally, we shouldn't have to tell grown people what to do. Yeah. Realistically, we have to tell grown people
for sure, 100%,
what to do.
100%.
So the question is like, okay, it's hard trying to get them to do what they're supposed to do. And it's going to be hard if they don't do it. Yeah. You got to choose your heart.
The more successful and older you get, the cliche stuff is just really real. I told her, be yourself. The problem isn't, I'm not getting sales, nobody's looking at me. The problem is you're not original. The problem isn't, oh, nobody's on my page. The problem is you're not being yourself. You know, the problem isn't, man, nobody's buying my product, my followers aren't growing. The problem is consistency. The problem is discipline. The problem is self-control. Like, let's get to the root of the issue. You're not consistent. Let's get to the root of the issue. You're not even being yourself. You're so focused on this other entrepreneur, you're trying to do everything she's doing. Let's get to the root of the problem. The problem isn't your following isn't growing. It's that you're not even putting out your truth. We don't even know who you are. So I think just trying to find the root of the problem. What is my real problem? Okay, let's be honest. I'm not consistent. I post once a month. That's not going to work, baby. I post 4 times a day. So let's get to the root. The root is consistency, discipline, self-control, originality, truth. Let's focus on those things and then it'll flourish. I think we focus so far on the future, and people ask me this in interviews all the time. What's your 5-year plan? Your 10-year plan? I think that's beautiful.
Dang, because I'm going to ask you that question.
No, and I'm going to answer it right now.
Don't answer it just yet. I'm asking again, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I think that's beautiful that people have that financially, goals, all that. But 5 years ago, I didn't see myself here. 10 years ago, this was not the plan. Every time I make a plan, God shifts it a little bit. So have these goals, have these plans, but I think we look so far ahead. 20 years, well, you don't know what you're doing next month, baby.
That's a fact.
You don't know. Focus on that. Focus small, you know? So it's just like driving a car. I don't need to see 6 miles. I need to see right in front of me. I need to see the lights in front of me. That's it. I don't need to see 6 miles down the road. You're going to get there, but focus on what's in front of you. So having those plans is great. And I'm still working on that with my financial advisor. I just got one. He's like, B, you all over the place, sweetie. You know, he's getting me together. But having those long-term goals is great. But I personally, this works for me. I'm not an advice giver. So if it don't work, don't say B. Simone said. For me, I take it slow. I take it a day. Okay, what are we doing this quarter? What are we doing this year? What do I see? Where do I see my business at the end of the year? We have these 10, 20-year plans, and you haven't even planned out your week, let alone your day. Yeah. You waking up with no intent on anything. Be intentional. What am I doing today? Be intentional.
Where you were talking about why people care so much about what other people think. Why is that? Why do people care what other people think?
More than ever, we are in a perception-based society. Everything runs off perception. People want to have this cool, this pretty, but they're not willing to look uncomfortable or voice their struggle. And right now, where everything is so in a box and tap and watch, people want to make sure that when somebody sees their box or their tap and their watch, that they're all put together, the makeup's on, that they're clean, and the understanding of what really separates you from other people is your unique story, and you putting yourself out there and actually not caring what people think about you to a certain extent.
So let's look at it this way. I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, I'm kind of hot. You know what I mean? Then I look around, I'm like, oh, it's lights. See, people want lights, but heat come with lights, bro. They think they want the lights.
Turn the heat off, though, Joe. Just hear me get my man right.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm straight.
That's a fact.
Yeah, they think they want. It's like, no, heat come with these lights, man, and lights show stuff that doesn't show. It exposes things that, and so yeah, when we get to certain places, it reveals and exposes some stuff in us, man. But we gotta. I'm gonna tell you this. You know why I deal with it the most, bro? I deal with it because my foot is in two worlds. So I'm in the spiritual space where I'm leading and serving people, and also I'm in the entrepreneurial space. Now, as it relates to what allows me to take care of me and my family, it is by far the entrepreneurial space. 1,000%.
Really?
Like it's no comparison. So like no comparison at all. You know what I mean? So yet at the same time, people fall in love with the version of you they met.
That's true.
Not always the version of you evolve into. So me stepping into this entrepreneurial space,
They don't love that.
everybody doesn't love that on this space. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it's the people. But if part of my purpose, and it is to add value to people in both spaces, I then have to make a decision, who am I willing to disappoint? And I'm not willing to disappoint me anymore.
Yeah.
So your disappointment now is no longer my responsibility if I'm not handling you incorrectly. I'm simply trying to evolve into the best version of myself
100%.
and do what I feel I'm created to do. So you can be upset by that or inspired by that. And here's the issue, bro. A lot of people become offended by or jealous of what they should be learning from.
So dang. And you got to accept it. You have to know that and be okay with it.
You got to live with it.
You know, there are some people that, you know.
Yo, can I say one thing though? One thing. I feel like I'm over talking.
No, please.
This is one thing. This is what I learned. When I disappoint me, that's long term. The feeling that I have, that bad feeling, that's long term. That regret, that's long term. When I disappoint others, that's short term.
They get over it.
I get over it.
Right.
You do too, right? You're like, man, I feel so bad. And then 2 days later, you're like,
oh.
I'm straight. You know what I mean? And so I think that's really important for people to recognize too. It's like their disappointment is going to be short term, but when you disappoint you, that's going to be long term.